So I'm Jim Stone, I'm the chairman of the board of MSH, and on behalf of the more than 2,000 people who work at MSH and the dozen of us who are on the board, I want to welcome all of you tonight. We take just enormous satisfaction from knowing that a country's whole health infrastructure is better when we leave than when we started. And we have to report from time to time that something has really been accomplished. We usually do that by facts and figures. Images can transcend facts and figures. And as a result, we organized a little competition to have photography fellowships in Africa.
Does anybody here give a hoot about global health or healthcare? You actually do? Does anybody really care about it? Like deep in your heart and your soul? We just did a show a couple of weeks ago on global population, how it's headed for 10 or 11 billion. And you know, you can get cynical and you can sit there and say, my God, we're gonna have 11 billion humans on this planet? Like we need more? Like we need to save ourselves? Aren't there enough of us? And then, and this really is the great reason for doing this, you look at the eyes of those kids we just saw in these photographs, and the mothers holding them, and you're reminded that we can't ever have that view of life, including human life on this planet, is too precious. And this kind of meeting tonight is very important to remind ourselves of that with these photographs and to think about how we can be more effective in reaching out and making good health care available to everybody.
I hope what history says is that this was the beginning of a movement to make sure that everybody in the United States of America has health care. I don't think that's a radical idea. I think health care is a fundamental human right.
I think this is going to share a lot of commonality in the US. In the sense that in reality, we still have about 40 to 48% of Kenyans who cannot have access to quality and affordable health care.
We are just a tiny piece of a much bigger picture of really cool stuff that's happening out there. And the really cool stuff that's happening is led by MSH and our 100 other giving partners that are out there driving health, education, social impact programs around the world. When you look at the MSH team out in Uganda, they've done really cool stuff to actually link the shoes with basic healthcare programs to help distribute vitamin A or nutrition training.
A family who has a child who needs surgery shouldn't go bankrupt, but each year 150 million families go bankrupt in poor countries because of health expenses. But the human cost of that is 10 or 12 million people every year die from conditions for which we have safe, effective, affordable prevention and treatment.
Issues like lack of access to health care, these are political conditions. We know how to solve hunger. We know how to prevent a whole bunch of diseases that people die from needlessly. We have the resources on this planet to be able to solve these problems.
But when it comes to universal health coverage, which is a matter that covers everybody, we don't seem to have mobilized that kind of financial might and political might.
The vision that I have is a society where the lines between business, government, and social sector are blurred, because the point is to Nyong'O's experience in Kenya, no one sector can do this on its own.
We must recognize that the private sector has the ability to raise resources sometimes better than government. The point is, it's not to use that innovation and efficiency only to deliver services to those who can privately afford it, but also to deliver services those who cannot privately afford it as individuals, but can afford it through a system that guarantees everybody access to affordable and quality health. And that is why it must be a partnership between government and the private sector.
And I think one of the other things we have to do is convince our fellow citizens that things are possible.
Thank you, Thank you for putting this night together. This is wonderful. Thank you to all of you for being here. Thank you above all. These wonderful wonderful photographers who bring us these images and remind us of why this all matters. Thanks so much for coming.